Hopefully it's going to come out nice and high. We're going to get good contact and it's going to hit and just stop. Let's see if we can pull it off.
Never miss the latest videos from the people who help you play better golf. Hit subscribe here. All right, so we are joined here today with Jim Knous. Jim, we want to talk some short game. You know, a common question I get all the time is, you know, should I hit the ball higher around the green? Do I hit it lower? You know, it's kind of that battle of, you know, what is the better shot sometimes for people when I talk to them. It's like, no, you should always hit the bump and run. It's a higher percentage shot. Or, no, I should hit it high and land it closer to the hole. So I'd love to learn kind of your perspective of flighting the ball kind of 3 different trajectories, when you choose certain shots and so forth today. So maybe first just walk me through, if we were going to kind of that further middle pin, you know, if we had 3 different landing spots or 3 different targets and trajectories, you know, what would call for different ones?
Yeah, that's a great point, Brad. In my opinion, it depends on the player. If you like to just launch it high and land it close to the pin, and you want to do that every time, go ahead and do it. If you want to play a bump and run, go ahead and do that. It just depends. In my opinion, you just got to stick with what you're good at. I like to have 3 sets of shots, 1 low, 1 medium, 1 high, depending on the situation. Like you were talking about, with this shot right here going to the back pin, in general, I would probably just play a medium height shot. You could also play a low shot if you really want to, or you can just fly it right next to the hole. So practicing all 3 shots is a lot of times a good way to go. Picking 3 different landing spots along the way and then practicing each one of those shots is a great way to get better at each one.
No, and that's key. I mean, a couple key points or takeaways I just heard there is, you know, 1, do what you're good at. You know, what I see a lot is, you know, a lot of students and you at home, you don't always practice your short game, or you have a favorite club, but then all of a sudden you think you need to hit this low shot with a 9-iron that you've never practiced, and that's just going to create some very poor results. So being really good at something, or making sure you practice all 3. Now, you're a professional, so you have a little bit more time to practice than the average Joe. So you want to be getting really good at a specific shot, or practice with 2 clubs a lot of times. I'll tell my students, you know, get good with a high one and a low one. But you got to practice, because if you don't practice, you don't know where you're trying to land the ball and what's about to happen. So that's key. The other one was picking the landing spots, knowing where you're trying to land the ball based on the type of trajectory you're hitting. So I think jumping into that and just understanding, maybe we start with your lower shot and kind of walk us through kind of the setup, the basics, the club selection, and then how you would pick a landing spot for that lower shot. And then also when you kind of gravitate towards that, you know, if it's uphill, downhill, if it's very flat, you know, fast or slow conditions, what kind of makes you choose that lower shot?
Right, it's a product of a lot of different circumstances. For me, it has to be a long shot, a long chip, maybe up a hill, up a ridge, something like that, and that I have space to hit it short and then it's going to roll out. For me, I take a pitching wedge. That's just what I practice with. Like you said, you got to be able to practice it a lot. So I'll take a pitching wedge, put it back in my stance a little bit, and almost feel like I'm hitting a slight draw arc with the wedge. That way it comes out with a little bit of that kind of top spin, draw spin, so when it hits the green, it releases. But you have to have a lot of room so it can release. That's kind of the low shot that you were talking about.
So if you were going to hit a lower shot here to that further pin, kind of walk us through how you would pick a landing spot.
Yeah, what I like to do in practice, you know, like you said, I have a lot more time on my hand, but I'll take a disc, something like this, or you can use a tee or a towel or something, and I'll just go out and I'll imagine where I think I should land the shot, right? And then it'll release to the hole. I'll place this where I think I want to land the shot with the pitching wedge, and then I'm just going to try to hit the disc with the chip. And first of all, you get to see if you plan the shot out correctly, because that's a big component. And then if you can hit the disc, if you can hit it where you want to hit it.
Yeah, that's key. You know, being able to control where you land the ball is really what sets apart those that are great at short game versus those that are really struggling, is what I found over the years of coaching. So that's perfect. So let's lay some discs out for these 3 different shots and then just kind of walk through hitting each one.
Sure.
So now you can see we've set up our landing spots. You know, we kind of walk through the different clubs, the different trajectories, and we've picked those landing spots. We've also taken into account that we see the green breaking a little right to left, so that's an important piece that you want to make sure you take in some slope in that. So now we got 3 wonderful targets. So now let's walk through how you would execute each shot. So first up is that going to be that lower shot. Kind of walk us through how you set up, ball position, and anything else you might adjust from one wedge to the next.
Yeah, so first, you know, I like to use the pitching wedge if I have a longer shot, uphill, something like that, where I need a little bit of a bump and run. Like I was talking about earlier, it's going to be a little bit farther back in my stance. I'm going to be feeling like I'm going to hit an inside out draw, quote unquote draw swing, so that it releases once it hits the green. But then you know, the ultimate tough part, the ultimate goal is to hit it where you want, right? Is to land it on that green towel. It's going to come out a little bit lower, obviously, with that topspin, and you're going to be choking up a little bit on the grip. That's so I can get the toe slightly down. The heel is going to be up on the club. That, in my opinion, promotes for better ball contact. So here we go. Let's see if we can hit it. Almost had it, but you can see it's releasing all the way back there. It's going to hit that one. Okay.
That might have gone in.
Yeah, it might have gone in. We did all right.
That was pretty good. So now if we go to kind of that middle trajectory there with your 56, do you make any adjustments in ball position or arc of swing here?
Yeah, so this is the 56. This is going to be the middle target. For me, in my mind, I'm picturing a medium height. It'll release a little bit, but not as much as the pitching wedge. Ball position wise, it might be slightly farther forward in my stance than the pitching wedge, but it's kind of a similar spot, the same choked up spot on the grip with just a tiny bit of forward shaft lean. And then I'm just going to take 1 practice swing. I like to take 2 practice swing. Look at where I want to land the ball, just like in putting practice swing, and then let's see if I can hit it. A little short and right of the target, but you can see it's still going to roll out, and the ball ends up a little bit short and right of the hole.
Yeah, still great distance control, which is so key. I mean, that's the big thing for so many of our students and viewers is, you know, picking the landing spot so you can control the distance and understand how it's going to hit and react. And really for those first 2, the lower and the mid trajectory, you didn't really change much other than the club, which I think is a key point because there's a lot of back and forth of do you just change the club or do I start moving the ball all over the place and changing how I swing? And so far for the first 2, you're just kind of changing the club, which makes it very simple for those first 2 options, really.
Yeah.
So let's go to the higher shot with your 60 degree now.
So the third target we're going to be hitting, it's going to be the high shot that hopefully spins and checks right by. It's the fun shot. Everybody wants to pull off the spinner, right?
Yep.
So we're going to take the 60. Things are going to change in terms of where I want this ball in my stance. Some teachers say you want it farther up in your stance. Some say you want it back. I kind of tend to split the difference. I have it in the middle of my stance, maybe toward the back. I'm gonna open the club. It's gonna open wide like that, so I can get a little bit steeper on it and get ball first. Hopefully it's gonna come out nice and high. We're gonna get good contact and it's gonna hit and just stop. Let's see if we can pull it off. Well, I didn't quite hit it far enough to get to the target, but it hit and stopped pretty close. It's obviously got to be a longer swing, a bigger swing.
Bigger swing, more in the middle of your stance, not as much shaft lean. Would you say you kind of change anything about your follow through? Do you try to kind of narrow the arc and keep the hands close to you versus kind of keeping that shaft leaning forward and away from you a little bit more? Is that kind of a thought that you have or when you practice?
Yeah, a crucial thing I tend to think about is keeping the lower body quiet for a shot like this. And a drill you can do is try to get this left foot square to the target and in front of you and almost feel like it's going to inhibit the lower body from moving. So it's more of a upper body moving back and then moving through the shot. So yeah, you're pulling that that club left through the shot, therefore trying to get solid contact, but the upper body is moving left through the strike. That kind of creates the spin, how it rolls off the club and gets the spin on the club.
That's wonderful, and that's key. So the first 2 shots, very, very much the same. We're just changing the club, which changes the trajectory and the rollout. And then from there, things change quite a bit when you're trying to hit that really cool, high, soft landing shot that everybody wants to hit. So, and that was a great drill and tip for them to practice at home, so that's wonderful. So if you're trying to improve your short game, one of the best things you can do is work with a coach. So head to golftec.com and find a coach near you.